Welcome to Microchip's briefing. The content of the briefing includes Asia hedge funds avert China turmoil with bets on Japan, AI. Bid to accelerate U.S. chips projects blocked by House Republicans. FTC urges U.S. appeals court to reject Microsoft Activision merger. At the Dealbook Summit, leaders contend with an existential moment. Chinese carmakers rush to build own semiconductor supply chains. Asia hedge funds avert China turmoil with bets on Japan, AI. Bloomberg. Asia-focused hedge funds are on track for improved performances in 2023 after avoiding losses tied to China investments, according to pre-Qin data. While 68% of China-focused hedge funds lost money in the first 10 months of 2022, just 18% of those specializing in Japan incurred losses. Among the funds that performed well in 2022 were Steins Capital Asia, Keystone Investors, Panview Capital, and Trivest Advisors. Macro hedge funds that trade across multiple markets were the best-performing group overall. Investors who cut their China bets early and focused on Japan and global technology names fared better. Over 58% of Asia-focused hedge funds avoided losses in the first 10 months of 2022, compared to 32% in 2022. Bid to accelerate U.S. chips projects blocked by House Republicans. Bloomberg. A measure that would have provided an exemption from environmental permitting reviews for semiconductor projects in the U.S. has been removed from a must-pass defense legislation. The measure was removed after U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson and other Republicans raised objections. The exemption had been a key priority for Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, who is preparing to distribute the first awards from the CHIPS Act by the end of this year. FTC urges U.S. appeals court to reject Microsoft Activision merger. CNN. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, which closed in October, should be blocked by federal appeals judges, according to the U.S. government. It says that a lower court judge was too accommodating of Microsoft's promises about the future of video game title Call of Duty. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, argues that when the judge ruled in July that Microsoft's last-minute deals with Nvidia, Nintendo, and others would resolve antitrust worries, she went too far. The FTC is the only regulator still trying to prevent the $69 billion deal. At the Dealbook Summit, leaders contend with an existential moment. New York Times. Uncertainty is a palpable feeling affecting virtually every major figure at the top of the leadership complex across the world. Business, policy, and cultural leaders have always had to contend with uncertainty, but this time, it may be different, it may be worse. It is hard to know how to measure the current level of uncertainty and disruption or how to react to it. But it is clearly here. Some leaders power through and hope for the best, some plan for the worst, and others try to remain optimistic. If history offers any lesson, it is that those who keep their wits about them during these periods have the most success. My view is when you have this kind of risk, you better deal with it very seriously because the chance of something going wrong is high, Mr. Diamond said. And if it goes wrong, the cost would be enormous. Chinese carmakers rush to build own semiconductor supply chains. Nikkei Asia. Chinese automakers are increasingly looking to procure semiconductors from domestic sources as part of Beijing's efforts to create a supply chain that is immune to U.S. trade restrictions. Great Wall Motor has announced that it has begun producing power semiconductors domestically, a move that reflects the growing importance of semiconductors in China's electric and self-driving vehicle industry. The China Association of Automobile Manufacturers, CAAM, has also established a committee dedicated to automotive semiconductors, as part of a push to raise China's self-sufficiency in the components. TSMC, labor unions reach labor accord for Phoenix chip site. Bloomberg. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC, has reached an agreement with Arizona labor unions to resolve labor disputes at its construction site in Phoenix. The agreement includes plans for TSMC to partner with unions to develop workforce training programs and maintain transparency on safety issues. TSMC is investing $40 billion in Arizona and plans to hire locally, but may also need to employ foreign workers with specialized experience. The agreement comes ahead of the Commerce Department's dispersal of the first round of funding from the CHIPS Act, with TSMC expected to be among the initial recipients. The CHIPS Act provides $100 billion in subsidies to bring manufacturing of electronic components back to the U.S. AMD CEO debuts NVIDIA chip rival, gives eye-popping forecast. Yahoo! Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, has unveiled its MI300 accelerator chips, which it says will run AI software faster than rival products. The chip has more than 150 billion transistors, 2.4 times as much memory as NVIDIA's H100 and 1.6 times the memory bandwidth. AMD CEO Lisa Su said the company's AI chip revenue would climb to more than $400 billion in the next 4 years. The chips will be used by Microsoft, Oracle, and Meta platforms, AMD said. Google launches Gemini, its most advanced AI model yet, as it races to compete with ChatGPT. CNN. Google has launched Gemini, its most ambitious generative artificial intelligence (AI) model to date. The model is designed to compete with OpenAI's GPT models and will be used across Google's consumer apps and Android smartphones. Unlike existing AI models, Gemini accepts multiple types of media, including text, images, audio, video, and programming code. The company has also trained Gemini using a new generation of cloud-based processors that can train large AI models almost 3 times faster than the previous generation. Google is also undergoing safety testing on its most advanced version of the model, Gemini Ultra. Autonomous trucking firm Too Simple to exit US amid new layoffs, focus on Asia. South China Morning Post. Autonomous trucking company Too Simple Holdings is winding down its US operations and cutting 75% of its remaining workforce in the country. The company's board of directors has approved a round of layoffs that will affect around 150 employees, or 19% of its global workforce. The remaining U.S. employees will focus on winding down operations and assisting with the company's strategic shift to the Asia-Pacific region. Too Simple has struggled with a U.S. government investigation, corporate disputes, and layoffs since 2022, and has been unable to turn a profit since going public in the U.S. in 2021. Market movers, stocks seeing action on Wednesday and why. The Globe and Mail. Descartes Systems Group reported better than expected Q3 financial results, with revenue reaching $144.7 million, up from $121.5 million the previous year. The strong results led to several equity analysts raising their forecasts and target prices for Descartes shares. Nvidia Corporation also saw shares rise after announcing it was working with the U.S. government to ensure new chips for the Chinese market comply with export curbs. The company has a dominant share in China's $7 billion AI chip market, but new U.S. curbs on chip exports are expected to create opportunities for Chinese rivals. Roots Corporation, on the other hand, reported a decline in Q3 profit and revenue due to economic headwinds, with sales totaling $63.5 million, down from $69.8 million the previous year. In contrast, Suncor Energy saw shares decline despite forecasting higher production for 2024 compared to 2023. The company expects upstream production to be between 770,000 and 810,000 barrels per day next year, a 7% increase from its 2023 production estimate. However, the decline in oil prices offset the positive news. Shopify Incorporated also saw shares decline as 2 analysts downgraded the stock, expressing concerns about its valuation following recent share price appreciation. McDonald's Corporation declined in volatile trading after announcing plans to open about 10,000 restaurants globally by 2027 and double revenue from its loyalty program. Tobacco giants Altria Group and Philip Morris International slipped after UK peer British American Tobacco announced a $31.5 billion hit from writing down the value of some US cigarette brands. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six from the 6 Degrees World, your resident observer of all things fascinating and quirky. Today, we have a mix of news from the world of finance, technology, and business strategy. Let's dive in, shall we? First up, we have some interesting news for hedge funds in Asia. It seems that those who bet on Japan and global technology names instead of China have come out on top. While China-focused hedge funds suffered losses, those focusing on Japan saw better performances. Maybe they were onto something with their bets on Japan's tech prowess and stability. It just goes to show that sometimes it pays off to go against the crowd. Next, we have a political twist in the U.S. House Republicans have blocked a measure that would have accelerated semiconductor projects by exempting them from environmental permitting reviews. It seems like a classic case of political maneuvering, and it's a shame because it could have helped boost U.S. chip manufacturing capabilities. Maybe they should have consulted some tech-savvy hedge fund managers for advice. Speaking of tech giants, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard is facing a roadblock. The U.S. government is urging federal appeals judges to block the deal, arguing that the lower court judge was too lenient in accepting Microsoft's promises. It seems like the Federal Trade Commission is the party pooper in this case, still trying to prevent the $69 billion deal. Maybe they're just jealous they didn't get an invite to the gaming party. Moving on, we have some existential musings from the Dealbook Summit. Uncertainty is in the air, my friends, and it's affecting leaders across the world. They're all grappling with how to measure and react to the current level of disruption. Some power through, some plan for the worst, and some try to stay optimistic. But as JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon wisely says, when there's this much risk, you better take it seriously. Because if something goes wrong, the cost would be enormous. Wise words indeed, Mr. Dimon. In the realm of semiconductors, Chinese carmakers are hustling to build their own supply chains. They want to be less dependent on US trade restrictions, so they're focusing on procuring semiconductors domestically. Great Wall Motor is already producing power semiconductors domestically, and the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers is working to raise China's self-sufficiency in automotive semiconductors. Looks like they're taking matters into their own hands, and who can blame them? Now let's talk about Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC. They've reached a labor accord for their chip site in Phoenix, Arizona. They're partnering with labor unions to develop workforce training programs and ensure transparency on safety issues. TSMC is investing a whopping $40 billion in Arizona, and this agreement will help them navigate their ambitious plans. It's nice to see labor and management finding common ground. Maybe they should give some lessons to those House Republicans. Next up, we have Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, unveiling its AI chip rival to NVIDIA. The MI300 accelerator chips are said to run AI software faster with impressive specs. AMD's CEO is making an eye-popping forecast, predicting that the company's AI chip revenue will climb to over $400 billion in the next 4 years. That's a lot of zeros, my friends. Looks like AMD is ready to give NVIDIA a run for its money. Game on! On the AI front, Google is launching its most advanced AI model yet, called Gemini. It's designed to compete with OpenAI's GPT models and will be used across Google's consumer apps and Android smartphones. Gemini is a multi-talented model that can handle text, images, audio, video, and even programming code. It's like the Swiss Army knife of AI models. And Google is not messing around, using new cloud-based processors to train Gemini faster than ever. I can't wait to see what kind of mischief Gemini will get up to. In other news, Too Simple Holdings, an autonomous trucking company, is exiting the US and focusing on the Asia-Pacific region. They're cutting their US workforce and winding down operations due to various challenges and investigations. It's a tough blow for Too Simple, but they're hoping to find greener pastures in Asia. Maybe they can partner with those Chinese carmakers and create a self-driving truck empire. Finally, let's take a quick look at the stock market. Descartes Systems Group reported strong Q3 results, leading to raised forecasts and target prices. NVIDIA saw shares rise as they work with the US government to comply with export curbs for the Chinese market. Roots Corporation reported a decline in profit and revenue due to economic headwinds. Suncor Energy saw shares decline despite forecasting higher production. Shopify Incorporated saw shares decline as analysts expressed concerns about its valuation. McDonald's Corporation declined after announcing ambitious expansion plans. And tobacco giants Altria Group and Philip Morris International slipped after British American Tobacco took a hit from writing down the value of US cigarette brands. It's a roller coaster ride in the stock market, my friends, but that's what keeps things interesting. And there you have it, folks, a whirlwind tour of the latest news. From hedge fund strategies to labor accords and AI battles, the world is buzzing with excitement and uncertainty. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you have any burning questions or quirky observations? I'm all ears, so let's hear it from you. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.